It has been reported that much of the cost of the Affordable Care Act will ultimately fall on the shoulders of the middle class. But who exactly is part of this hard-to-define group?
I put the middle class typically in that $40,000, $50,000 a year to the $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. It's not very well defined, but essentially these are the folks who pay the taxes. Yeah.
And with all the fancy talk and technical terms aside, what really will be the biggest change the middle class may see after the Affordable Care Act kicks in?
That they may not get coverage through their employer. By far, I think the most significant change. It'll force them to make choices of their own. And if you go on the exchanges, you'll find even when they're up and fully running, and I believe eventually they'll be up and running, you'll find comparisons between plans to be very, very difficult.
So if you fall into this large middle class category and you are faced with the task of having to choose a health plan, what should your very first step be?
I think, first of all, figuring out what your budget is going to be, both in terms of the employer's contribution, if you're lucky enough to be covered by an employer currently, or in terms of your own income. How much can you really afford on health care?
And you need to take into account a variety of factors.
Don't just look at the premium at that point. Also think about the deductible and the co-pays and the co-insurance and all the other costs that go with it.
Other costs may include the ever-important cost of your medications.
If you take very expensive prescription drugs, it's really important to make sure that the plan you pick covers those drugs. Because one thing that's allowed here are differences in terms of what the plans decide are the expensive drugs they will cover in full.
And while all of this information may seem very overwhelming, the Affordable Care Act is turning out to be a good thing for some. I spoke with an attorney here in Columbia who's actually about to choose his plan on the health exchange, and it's looking like it's going to save him a lot of money. Edward Longshore has his own private practice and also has pre-existing medical conditions. He says the Affordable Care Act is a saving grace.
For someone like me that's an entrepreneur or a small business owner, or if you want to make or go out and create your own startup, it's the only way, if you have a pre-existing medical condition, that you can actually afford to do that.
Because as things stand right now, Edward's healthcare costs are taking a huge chunk out of his business.
Before the Affordable Care Act came into play, I was looking at roughly 50% of my costs of doing business as a private business owner, as a small business owner, as an attorney, were going towards health care. Roughly between $15,000 and $20,000 a year were my health care costs.
And due to the Affordable Care Act, his health costs will decrease significantly.
Under the plan that I'm currently looking at through Blue Cross that's provided under the Affordable Care Act, my premium is going to drop from about $1,100 a month down to $300 and something a month, about $390 a month. And my deductible will drop from $2,500 a year down to $1,200 a year.
But while the Affordable Care Act is turning out to be very beneficial for Edward, I did speak with some business owners who don't think the act is a good idea. The business owners did not wish to appear on camera, but said they want to provide coverage to their employees, and the act is making it too expensive to do that. So while everyone may not agree on whether the act is good or bad, it is acting as a major helping hand to some people like Edward. In Columbia, Stephanie Helling, Watch Fox News.